Hi guys, today we are actually going to be reacting to Project Veritas's new episode on an expose on a non-profit organization under the name HiTops. Now, HiTops is a non-profit organization that is sneaking sexual and LGBTQRSUVWXYZ curriculum into public schools and admits to stripping parents of opt-out rights. Now, this is not good. I mean, obviously, parents do deserve, and parents do have the right to tell their students and their teachers exactly what they want their kids to learn in school. And especially when it comes to a class that does not offer them absolutely anything in their daily life, this should not even be a thing on the board. This should not even be an option for them to opt in or opt out of. Because if they're doing this organization right here, HiTops, and they're working with HiTops to actually, take the rights away from parents to choose what their kids actually learn, then what are they actually learning in school? They're taking the day and filling it with nonsense that they don't need to actually have a flourishing life. That's upsetting. Now, without further ado, let's actually react to this episode of the expose right here. This is actually a two-part series. We're going to be reacting to both episodes in this video here.
There's a mandate for racial justice and inclusivity.
Yes.
Sometimes that's how we get through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is very smart.
Yeah.
Because parents are not able to opt out of those classes.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. You got it.
In today's
Oh, and she's just laughing. She doesn't even care. She's like, oh yeah, you can't opt out of this. You can't opt out. We have your children. This should not be the case. These people should not be in charge whatsoever.
information age, parents closely monitor their children's influences.
As they
However, unsettling disclosures about HiTops, a youth-focused sex education and LGBTQ service provider, reveal covert tactics to introduce sexually oriented content in schools, bypassing parental consent.
When we go to middle school, they have a class that's called Pathways to Racial Literacy. We come in and we teach for 3 days. That class, parents are not allowed to opt their children out of.
Through classes such as the Pathway to Literacy program, organizations like HiTops and others may have found their way into middle school classrooms, offering no provisions for parental opt-out.
Yeah, and that's just that's disturbing. That's disturbing. I can't say it. That's disturbing. That's gross on so many levels. I don't know how people are not noticing that. If you are forcing kids to actually participate in a class and you're hiding it from the parents, that's a massive red flag right there.
Covert introduction of sexually oriented content without informing parents may not only be inappropriate, but may also be fundamentally deceptive.
It is.
You found a back door.
Yes, it is really nice.
In New Jersey, our undercover journalist unveiled alarming truths from high-top educators. While their website paints them as a nonprofit championing inclusive, youth-informed sex education,
yeah, we all know that that's not actually going to be the main goal of this group. Even though they just say that online, it's not going to be the main goal whatsoever.
and LGBTQ support, a deeper investigation uncovered deception. Facing parental resistance, both Executive Director Lisa Shelby and health educator Hannah Wires confessed they exploit Pathways to Racial Literacy class as a hidden channel, a backdoor to reach children, bypassing the parents' rights to opt out their children.
I'm just so happy to hear that you all are so dedicated to this.
Yes.
Especially right now when a lot of people are sort of getting really nervous about making this part of their mission statement because they're worried about how other people will sort of like respond. And we've had unfortunately a handful of people kind of back out of contracts because they're worried about parent backlash or things like that. What are you teaching my child?
All
Which
the
is a good
parents
thing.
know that you guys
Which is a good thing to hold these students, hold these schools that have our students, hold them accountable for what they're teaching our students and actually make sure that they're teaching our students things that they actually need. Because if they're not teaching our students things that they actually need, then they need to back off. They need to literally think twice or maybe 3 times. And that's why I'm saying it in the literal aspect. Not just, oh, you need to think twice before. No, you need to physically think twice before you do anything with somebody else's child. Okay, when you have somebody else's child in front of you, you are not making the ultimate decision. The parents of those children are. So if you want to indoctrinate them into a perverse ideology that takes these unsuspecting children and it puts them down a path of self-mutilation and self-harm, then you need to get the parents' consent before doing any of that. And even if you do get the parents' consent, is it just and is it right for you to be pushing them down a path of perverse ideology? No, it's not. It is not okay. And it is not just and it is not right.
Guys are in the school? Oh, and that's why some of them push back.
So, in some instances, for example, when we go to middle school, they have a class that's called Pathways to Racial Literacy. And so it is, learning a lot about race, ethnicity, so on and so forth. We come in and we teach for 3 days. That class, parents are not allowed to opt their children out of. That's our real, I guess that's our real sort of goal would be to remove opt-out laws or opt-out policies, because right now for a health class, if we came in as a health class, parents could opt their children out.
What's the name of the class?
It's called Pathways to Racial Literacy.
Oh, so through that you interject yourself.
Yeah.
So that's why they just know that the class is pathway
Yes.
through
Racial literacy. Yes. And that class, parents are not allowed to opt out of. Parents, I believe, are still allowed to opt out of a health class.
Which is a good thing because of the fact that if you are going to have your student or your kid in this case learn about sex ed, and you're like, wait a second, I do not want them to learn about this, and you change your mind about that, or you say, listen, I'm looking into the health class right now, and I don't think that is going to be beneficial for you to actually still be in this class when you could be doing something that is actually benefiting you in the long run. Parents opt out of their out of that class, their student, or they opt their student out of that class, and all is good. And then if you do want to stay in the class, you stay in the class. Okay, so you should have the ultimate right because it's number one. Okay, number one, that's your student. Okay, that's your kid. Number two, you're choosing to go to that school. Number three, you're paying the tax money that goes toward that school. So you have the ultimate say. You cannot just force us to learn a thing that's not going to be beneficial to us in the future. Never mind all of the other perverse ideologies that this puts you down a path of. It's disturbing.
So a note would get sent home and say, next week we're talking about anatomy or, gender identity. And a parent could send a form back saying, you have to pull my child out of class. And so I think our real goal would be to make sure that opt-out doesn't exist.
But that's okay, though. You found a back door.
Yes, it is really nice. I think more and more what we end up doing, while we brand ourselves as sex education and support, what we end up doing more and more, especially this past year on the education team, is doing that affirming work, doing those lessons with teachers, with students about affirming language, affirming practices, things like that.
Okay. So this is what she really means. If you were to translate this into basic English and you don't even use these perverse language, these little words that actually mean nothing, it's just a cover-up. Okay, so if you don't use all of those stupid words that she just used to fill in the blanks, okay, what they are teaching you and your students and your teachers that teach your students is that you need to accept. Accept is the number one policy that they want to stick with. Okay, that's accepting. Okay, that is what she means by affirming language. Now, if somebody comes up to you with their perverse ideology, let's just say, and they say, listen, I was born a guy, but I feel like I am a woman, just like the song. So now you need to see me as a woman. So now you need to go by she and her. Okay, I need to be named she and her now. So now everybody that talks about this person needs to go by she and her. That's affirming language. Affirming practices would be to say, oh, did you see the girl over there? And then you're just pointing towards a guy with a mustache. Okay, that's affirming language. and then affirming practices, and she says things like that. Okay, so she's teaching you that if you want to be a girl and you're actually a guy, you can go and do that, because this is a perverse world that we live in. If you want to be and that goes the opposite way, of course. If you want to be a guy and you're a girl, you can go ahead and do that, because she's telling you that you can, because she is God, okay? She has all of the answers. That's exactly why she thinks that she knows best more than the parents themselves. And that's disturbing and disgusting, like I said in the past.
And just because that's sort of been the need that more people have had than, doing like healthy relationships and things like that.
But that's where you market yourself differently.
Yeah. My coworkers are the ones who sort of pivot to market. I just sort of show up and teach, and she's a genius when it comes to sort of sensing those needs that need to be filled.
What's your director's name?
Our director is Lisa Shelby.
Our journalist sat down with HiTops Executive Director Lisa Shelby to discuss the organization's objectives and programs. Notably, she confirmed their use of the Pathway to Racial Literacy class in select New Jersey schools, capitalizing on the fact that parents cannot exclude nor opt out their children from this course.
Our organization provides sexual health education and LGBTQ plus support primarily for young people. And when I say that...
okay. So for primarily young people. Okay, so when we say that you are coming for the children, and we hear chants at LGBTQRSTUVWXYZ Pride events that we are coming for the children, and I can play that for you if you need to. Comment down below if you do want me to go and touch base on that, because I did back in June. Look in my channel, I posted the video. Now, moving right from that, if we sit here and just focus on this one sentence here, this is exactly what we've been saying the exact whole entire time. When I say that our focus is on youth and young people and youth, they are targeting the children. We need parents to protect our kids and our young people, okay, from this perverse ideology that puts you down a path, indoctrination and self-mutilation, because this is exactly the path that they want you to go down. It's perverse and it's disgusting, okay? If I'm saying perverse too much, it's really perverse. Okay, it's disgusting, it's disturbing, and it's evil.
Our focus is on youth and young people. That adults, by and large, at least those that we work with, want to be supportive and helpful and kids in their life, but feel confused, ignorant. They don't have the vocabulary. They don't want to make a mistake. Right, so we start there and create, our goal is to create a safe, open space. People can make mistakes, ask questions, etc. And we have, so that's sort of our initial training, and then we have 8 different modules that kind of go through, gets more and more in depth, more and more sort of in the nitty gritty of the tenets of orientation in general.
And that's done through racial.
Okay, so then they're going to sit here and say all of the LGBTQRSTUVWXYZ, all of that. They're going to just sit here and label all of that and go through every single one of them. So you're going to be talking about transgenderism. You're going to be talking about gay sex. You're going to be talking about lesbian sex. You're going to be talking about all of these other things. Now, you can say, listen, just because there's a gay couple does not mean that it is just about sex. But what is it then? What are they going to be teaching you? That mommy and daddy doesn't just have to be mommy and daddy. It can be mommy and daddy and what? They just get together and that's it. For mommy and daddy, you say, oh yeah, they come together and they have they have a baby and blah, blah, blah. You don't have to explain the nitty gritty. But for a girl and a guy, you can't really explain that to a kid without saying, well, yeah, they like to do some things together and blah, blah, blah. And then there's books that literally are in the children's section of schools, in the libraries, like Genderqueer, and other books like that go through and have perverse images for children to see on how to actually have sex with each other. This should not be in a kid's book whatsoever.
So injustice class, right?
Sometimes in certain schools, but you're right. There's a mandate
Yeah.
for racial justice and inclusivity.
Yes.
Sometimes that's how we get through.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is very smart.
Yeah.
Because parents are not able to opt out of those classes.
That's right, exactly. That's right, you got it. So that's one big program that we have.
In our modern classrooms, our undercover video has ignited a heated debate. Hannah Wires highlights how organizations, under the guise of promoting inclusivity, are accessing students directly during school hours. They're using school-issued computers to discuss sensitive topics like the pronouns of a child's gender based on their own observations of a child's perceived identity.
Sometimes, like, they know their situation infinitely better than us. They live it every day. And so while we, are like, I really want for you to be able to, use your correct name with your parents, they know that, like, I don't feel safe doing that right now. And so, yeah, having that conversation, I think, is really the most important thing about
No, you should not be having a conversation about using a different name than what they were born as because their parents wanted them to have that name. That's exactly why they named them that name. How is this so hard to understand? If the parents named you something, then the parents want you to be named that something. Okay, we do not need this teacher coming in here and saying that you do not need to go by that name if you do not choose to do so. Okay? No, this is not how that works.
And so, with children who are not at, like, reading and writing age, it's a little difficult, but having that conversation, privately, in the sense of, like, without the parent around, like, what kind of name do you want for me to use? Like, is there do you like going by, this name, or, is there another name, right? And so we also encourage, like, regular check-ins to, like, every, again, when we're recommending something at the public school level, it's about every quarter or every semester, sending out, I don't know if you all have been in a school recently. They're all digital. They do everything digital.
No.
Yes. And
No more pen and paper?
Right? No, they all have, like, school-issued laptops, and they're all doing so much of it online, which can be nice, though, because then they can send out, like, a Google form, basically, and it's just like, hey, I'm just checking in. Do you still, like, remind me what name you'd like to be called? Remind me what pronouns you like to use.
So they could do all of this without the parents knowing because it's all digital now. So this is exactly why they wanted to do the push to digital, all on computer, because then they could just email the students directly and say, okay, I know your parents do not want you to go by this name, Pa. I'll go by this name. I'll be here for you. And then don't worry about your parents, okay? I'll always be here for you. And then you have this connection with this teacher, and then it turns into a perverse relationship. This is what it's always been. The teacher gets you to have trust in the teacher, and then the teacher takes your parents out of the equation, and so far and so forth, so on and so forth. This is exactly what every single relationship within a school looked like. I mean, like you said, it's disgusting.
Which you all could potentially adapt to, just like, especially if you are noticing, like, a child was, like, being very, like, insistent and being very consistent about asserting their gender identity. Checking in every couple of months, like, is this still the name you like to use? Are these still the pronouns you like to use? Are these still the words you like to use too? Right? Because, I don't know if a 4-year-old is going to know the word pronoun, but they know the word words, right? And they know, I like to be called she, her, like, I'm boy, things like that.
So you send it directly to the student, not the parent.
That's what we encourage staff to do, yes.
So you work with, you said...
So they encourage staff to go and do exactly what I said, because this is not taking a rocket scientist to actually connect the two dots. If they have direct access to your kid, they're not going to go through the parent to get to your student anymore. They're just going to go directly to the student, even in an elementary school or an elementary level grade. It's disturbing.
Second grades in public school. What public schools have you been working with in New Jersey?
We've worked with, we have a contract with JP Elementary School here in Princeton. We've done work at Princeton Middle School. We've done work at a handful of sites in Trenton.
Do you know where in Trenton? Because I would love to be able to.
Worked at Trenton 9th Grade Academy.
Okay.
In partnership with Empower, which is another, like, sort of healthcare-led organization. We've worked with Christina Sykes Academy. which is close to Trent. So we're sticking largely in Princeton and like a little bit of Trent at this point in time. But we are happy to also do, that's usually like our in-person. Virtually, we go much farther. Virtually, we reach out to places in New York.
Okay, so of course, they're going to work primarily with students around where they are centered and where they are located, because that is the most easy for them to actually get their hands on instead of going throughout the nation. They're going to start small and then they're going to expand their organization. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be organizations like this that are working all domestically. They're going to be working around the clock, 24/7, 365 throughout the whole entire country, not just in New Jersey like this one organization is.
To places in California, to like places across the country.
Every child should receive a transparent education that equips them for academic achievement and future success. Our investigation into HiTops reveals a significant breach of trust, where trusted educators exploit loopholes and technology to advance radical sexual education without parental knowledge or consent. These educators admit their goal is to eliminate a parent's right to opt their children out of classes that they may feel are inappropriate or violate their family's values. Project Veritas remains committed to investigating the secret curriculums that exist in America's classrooms.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's sadly not what a school looks like anymore. Schools look a lot more high-tech than that. But also at the same exact time, we know for a fact that they're using this high-tech technology to actually get through the parents and actually just get straight to the students, because that's exactly what they want anyway. So the parents are just standing in the way, and that's exactly how they look at it because of the fact that they do not want the parents' consent anymore. Now, that is the first part. Now let's watch the second part here.
The most critical time to be there is grades 5 through 8, because you want to catch kids when they're starting puberty, because that's the time in which identity formation is central to their lives. However, early intervention is key. So we actually are designing a kindergarten through grade 2 curriculum this summer.
And actually this next year we're going to start in a few elementary schools too.
Elementary school, that's amazing.
Yeah, so very exciting.
That you were able to do elementary, you've done it in the past.
And of course, that's ideal.
Yeah, right.
And kids are so open and malleable. And,
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh,
We're
yeah.
helping districts
Oh.
figure out, we have new sex ed standards in the state. How do you teach sex ed to second graders?
Right.
What
Very exciting.
That you were able to do elementary, you've done it in the past.
and of course, that's ideal.
Of course, this is the ideal for them because of the fact that they just want to get to your kids as fast as possible. They do not want your kids to actually think about what they're actually telling them, and they want your kids to actually just continue on the path of self-mutilation, self-indoctrination, and they want your kids to indoctrinate their fellow kids, because then that turns them into left-wing political machines that just vote for the left, and not only just vote for the left, but also makes the left more money. If it comes to transgenderism, if it comes to abortion, it just makes the left just so much more money for all of the organizations that line their pockets with cash.
Yeah, right.
And kids are so open and malleable, and
We're helping districts figure out, we have new sex ed standards in the state. How do you teach sex ed to second graders?
Right.
What does that look like?
That's true.
There's actually some really cool ways you can do that.
No, there is not some really cool ways that you can do it, because that's just disgusting for second graders. Maybe middle school you can start talking about that, but definitely not elementary school, no.
The right wing would have you believe we're grooming second graders.
Oh,
It's ridiculous.
And I will tell you, one of the most rewarding experiences, Nikki, we were in a local school system in an elementary school, and we were in grades 3, 4, and 5. And after we were there, 5 students went to the principal's office and came out. So we are really...
Oh yeah, because this is not grooming whatsoever. Oh my god, if kids are doing this exact thing that we just taught them, that does not mean that we're grooming them. That means that they're just living their full truth. They're living their truth. They're living their real life, and they're taking advantage of the one and only life that we're going to have before we get to go into the ground to just take a dirt nap with the worms, okay? Our life does not matter. Our life does not have souls. Our life does not ever revolve around anybody else but what we want to do in that very very moment and what you actually told us to do that very second before we had that decision to ultimately ruin our life, that does not matter whatsoever because of the fact that we're living our true self. Okay, that's just stupid.
Intentionally going into younger and younger grades.
Our deep dive
Oh, wait a
investigation
second. So you just did what the last person said that you are not doing. You are grooming kids into a perverse ideology.
into organizations like HiTop reveals some startling intentions. These groups aim to influence children at an incredibly young age, sometimes even in kindergarten, often without the awareness or consent of parents.
Of course.
Do you do gender affirmation that young, though? I mean, I know there's some kids.
Oh, yeah. So what we know is that children have a sense of gender identity as young as 3 years old.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Because you ask them, what do you think mommy is? Mommy's a mom. What do you think daddy is? Daddy's a dad. They don't know. Like, well, they don't know what a specific woman is or what a specific man is. That doesn't make any sense at all. A 3-year-old does not even know basic English. They can barely talk. So they do not have a gender expression. They just put on whatever clothes up mom told them to put on that morning. How do you not know this? All this stuff is coming from people that do not have children. It shows.
Like a lot of them can. And so there's a difference, right, between sort of like we're figuring out identity at that age, absolutely. And so sometimes it's just sort of, a one-off comment like, I'm going to be a prince today instead of a princess. And, but what we're looking for, what like folks, like adults in a young person's life, especially that age, are looking for when we're thinking about, are they experiencing like a gender identity? Are they like sort of asserting their gender identity? It's consistent, persistent, insistent, I think are the 3. So they are like.
Oh, okay. So just slogans that other people came up that you're going to, take from them. And then you're just going to just rejuvicate or just put back into the space those very words that somebody else came out with, just so you can use it and to use it to indoctrinate children. It's disgusting. No, just because somebody is consistent, and insistent in saying that they are something else in which they are not, and they're 3 years old, you should have the the mental capacity, the mental well-knowing, and the ability to know that student, that kid, that 3-year-old does not actually know what he is talking about whatsoever. But of course, you do not have the IQ cells, and you do not have the the mental know-how to actually think twice about what you're doing. You don't.
Like consistently saying like, no, I'm going to be a boy today. I'm, going to be the prince today. I'm going to be this. And so that's what sort of you're looking for if you're thinking about sort of helping.
It's essential to understand that groups like HiTops aren't typical classroom teachers. They are external organizations, each with its own specific goals and agendas. As they enter a child's school, it's important for parents and the community to be informed about the content they provide and the representatives they send to interact with children. What's deeply concerning is that parents might be unaware of these groups' presence in their child's classroom.
When do you start in the schools?
With age of,
Yeah, with the kids.
well, we have done a little bit with elementary, not a lot.
Okay.
We'd love to grow that, but that's a little bit of a tougher sell, as you might imagine.
Yes. So is it a first grade kindergarten?
As you might know, there is a mandate for sexual health education in the schools, and it's K through 12. So, we have done very early education, childhood education. The majority of the work we do is with students in middle school.
Okay. But you're able to do elementary, you've done it in the past.
Mm-hmm. And of course, it's ideal.
Yeah. Right.
And kids are so open and malleable, and and like we say, everyone has a sexual identity. Everyone has a gender identity. Everyone,
Oh, wait, she said the quiet part out loud. She did say the quiet part out loud there because she knows that it was all about sex at the very beginning. Oh, everybody has a sexual identity. Oh, do you want to be gay? Do you want to be lesbian? Do you want to be non-binary and perverse and whatever the hell? You as a kindergarten student do not know that because you did not go through that, and hopefully, God forbid, you did not go through that. So this person saying, oh yeah, you have your sexual kinks when you're elementary school. No, listen, you said the choir part out loud. She did not make a mistake whatsoever. She did not.
As an expression, and it starts when you're tiny.
No.
You know, there's nothing but, so, and then we do work with parents, and as I just said, it's staff training. And then the other big bucket that we have, the third one, is our LGBTQ plus support program.
When you're talking about our programming for the young people who come here for support groups or drop-in, which is has started at 3, right? That's going to be in that age range. And then when we're going into schools to do sexual health classes, workshops, or work with teachers in professional development, again, that's primarily in high school. And then there are a couple of middle schools that we work with as well. And actually this next year, we're going to start in a few elementary schools too.
Elementary school, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
That's
very exciting.
right.
Like I said, again, with the closet, we have a lot of sexual health products that we're giving to young people for free in New Jersey.
But we do have the closet, which is a completely free, gender-affirming closet. So you who need clothes that sort of match their identity, but they cannot get them, whether it's just because they can't afford them or they need to be discreet about getting them, they can come to our closet. They can pull pieces completely for free. And so they can wear, gender-affirming clothes.
Have a closet.
Yeah, okay, no. The whole entire idea of this from the very beginning was to actually hide this from the parents and to say, oh, well, if you want to do this, then you can, even if your mom does or your dad does not want you to actually do this. They want to do it without the parents' consent, and this was the very goal of it since the very beginning.
Let me show you this. So, this is free clothing.
Wow,
We just did a
beautiful.
formal. We just did a pop-up event with formal wear to get ready for the prom for the kids, so we have extra formal wear.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of stuff. There's personal items, binders, packers, stuff for non-binary and trans kids to be comfortable in their bodies. They can come, get stuff for free, try it on, in an affirming space.
That's
and we do
great.
pop-ups every month for the closet. And, kids can also come in when we're here and, try stuff on. So, really trying to meet the variety of needs that youth today are experiencing, in this crazy world.
As we navigate the changing landscape of
She said in this crazy world that we live in, the crazy world that you are creating for our students. That's the world that we sadly have to live in because of you.
and genuine learning remains paramount, Project Veritas is committed to keeping you informed on these sensitive subjects, ensuring our children's well-being is always at the forefront.
And I will tell you, one of the most rewarding experiences, Nikki, we were in a local school system in an elementary school, and we were in grades 3, 4, and 5. And after we were there, 5 students went to the principal's office and came out. And it was just so incredibly touching. And, the parents at first were very nervous. Gee, grade 3, are we going to be talking about this? Maybe kids have never heard about it. And we had the administrators attend the classes, and the administrators were shocked. And we told them this would likely happen, that kids knew way more than they realized, than the administrators realized. And it proved to be just something that was so rewarding and wonderful. So we are really intentionally going into younger and younger grades.
Yeah, so of course, we already knew exactly this. We already knew that they were going to go into younger and younger grades because of the fact that they want to actually indoctrinate the children at a younger and younger age. So, this is the thing now. We need to sit here and push back harder than what they are pushing forward. So if we push back harder, then we can say, listen, no, we are not having you do this. We are absolutely not going to stand up for this. We are absolutely not going to stand for your right to indoctrinate children into a perverse ideology that leads them down a path of self-mutilation and self-destruction. Okay? We are not going to stand for this. We are not going to accept you. We are not going to be here for you. And we are not going to give you our children. So, with that being said, we need to push back on this one in particular group because it's expanding the fastest, but we also need to pay attention to the local groups that are next to you because of the fact that this is happening next to you whether you like it or whether you don't like it, because it's happening and it's happening real fast. With that being said, we're going to end off this video here. If you did like this episode, please like and subscribe down below, because I do post new episodes of the show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you all for watching, and I hope they have a great rest of your day.